Hello there. This is a short tutorial on the overview for Unit 3, which is from the RCM Level 9 Harmony book. It's a pleasure to help with some of the various topics of this particular book. And so this is the first of a couple of different videos outlining the details. What I'm going to do now is share my screen so that you can see the materials here. And I'm going to scroll up just a little bit to speak on a couple of different things. Of course, when we're speaking in this level, one of the aspects from level 2 is working on including all of the different notes when writing in four-part harmony, especially when writing triads. Now, as you know, a triad consists of a root, a third, and a fifth. But when we write in four-part harmony, we need to have four notes. So one of the notes needs to be doubled. The important note that you need to double especially is the root. That is always a good option. Sometimes you can double the fifth, but very rarely do we double the third, except when using a tonic chord in a key. Now, some of the chords that we will be looking at in Unit 3 are the dominant chord, which is the 5 chord, and the subdominant chord, which is the 4 chord. And these are considered to be just as important as the tonic chord in the sense that they are the strongest chords within a scale. In a minor key, the tonic and the subdominant are minor chords, and a dominant chord is usually major because of the raised leading tone. So that's something important to know. Something as well is that some of the chords within any key can have common tones. So sometimes you can have chords where we have similar notes from one chord to another. If I were to switch over to the camera to see the piano here, you'll see that when I play a major triad like C major, and I play a major triad like G major, there is a common tone between the two chords. The note G is the same. So in the key of C major, the tonic chord is C, E, G. The dominant chord is G, B, D. So when writing in four-part harmony, and we go from the tonic chord to the dominant chord, if there's a possibility of keeping a voice the same by using the same note in the same voice, that helps to create simple voice leading. We'll get to that a little bit later. But an important thing is to know that common tones are very useful and helpful. As well, keyboard style is something that we'll be looking at in this unit. Keyboard style is basically where harpsichord players would look at the melody of a piece and the bass line, but then fill in chords based on the inversions. And we're going to be learning about the different inversions and functional chord symbols for that type of writing. Now, something that's called tonic prolongation is when we have all of the different chord progressions that occur prior to a cadence. And this is very important because all the chords within a melody that occur prior to a cadence create variety in a piece of music. And then the cadence is the punctuation that finishes the musical sentence. So tonic prolongation with 1 and 4 basically means that we can rotate between the 1, the 4, and the 5 chords within the first part of a piece of music, and then go towards the cadence where then we have the finishing moments, either with an authentic cadence, a half cadence, and that kind of thing. So some of the techniques that are outlined are when we can use common tones between chords. And so there is a variety of different parts of the chapter that explain that. But especially when writing common tones, as you can see with the arrow or the pencil here, if we have a certain note in one chord that is then the same in another chord, it's good to keep that note the same within the voice. In this particular example, the C is in the tenor of the 4 chord of C minor, which is F, A flat, C. And then the C stays the same when we go to the 1 chord, so that there is a simple voice leading. Now, a couple of errors that might occur are when we have contrary motion, but then big jumps in the one hand or one part to another. So you want to make sure that as much as possible, you can have stepwise movement, but contrary motion helps so that there are no parallel intervals. So traditionally, the bass will be moving up and the chords, other parts of the chords will be moving down, or vice versa. Sometimes by using common tones and contrary motion, that's the best way that you can use voice leading. You can see right here, we also want to be wary of large gaps between voices. The only voice that can have a large gap or a leap is traditionally in the bass, because the bass outlines the specific chords that are to be used. And so sometimes there can be jumps of up to a fifth or more. But between each of the other voices, the soprano, alto, and tenor, you want to make sure that voice leading is either by common tone or by step or small leap, no larger than a fourth. Some of the common errors in voice leading as well are when we have parallel intervals, such as a fifth or an octave. And that is when we have a fifth or an octave between two voices that occur in the same voices between two chords. So you can see here, there's a C to a G, which is a fifth, and here there's a G to a D. So the parallel movement is actually when these intervals are occurring in the same voice in two adjacent chords, or two chords that are right beside each other. You can also have parallel octaves too. Now, when playing these on the piano, of course they sound nice, but when singing this material, it's very hard to master the tuning, especially composers found this a challenging thing to do back in the Baroque period when a lot of these rules were being created. And so Johann Sebastian Bach never used parallel intervals in a lot of his choral music. And so when composers were creating the rules for harmony, that was one of the rules that became very important, was to never use parallel intervals or to try to avoid them. So in this particular case, you can see how in the 4-part harmony, there is a fifth created between the bass and the soprano of this chord, and also the bass and the soprano of the next chord. There's kind of a jumpy movement. In this instance, there's an octave between the bass and soprano, and an octave between the bass and soprano of the next chord. So some of the aspects of what we're going to be looking at today are going to be how to create voice leading that is successful from one chord to another, creating spellings of chords to make sure that we have 4 notes within a 3-note triad to fill in the 4 voices of 4-part harmony, and also to use smooth voice leading. So using contrary motion where possible, using stepwise motion, and common tones. So I hope that this overview is helpful, and these general ideas you will find helpful when we work on some of the examples. In the next video, I'm going to outline some of the ways to answer the questions in the first part of this chapter. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.